sacrifice. It is the new covenant. We are bought with the price. The price is His blood. No? His blood shed on the cross, His body, His flesh is like the curtain or like the veil. What do you mean by that? Huh? Remember, example, this is the temple. Huh? In the Old Testament, King David wanted to build a temple for God. Why? Because all their life they are living in the desert. Moses, upon coming out of Egypt, went to Mount Sinai. God told Moses to build what? A tabernacle. No? The tabernacle is the exact thing, representation of the temple. And the temple is divided into the outer court, the holy place, and the Holy of Holies. Remember? This one we will study in depth when we study the book of Hebrews. Between the holy place and the Holy of Holies, there is a curtain or a veil. As thick as the palms of your hand. Ganito kalapad. So humanly speaking, mahirap itong sirain. But when Jesus hung on the cross, when He died, the high priest during the time of Jesus saw the veil or the curtain torn from up to down. Top to bottom. Now we can enter the Holy of Holies because of Christ's death. Yun yung symbolism doon. Okay? That's why He said that. And then what happened when Jesus died? When He resurrected after the third day, He appeared to the many. And how long did Jesus stay here on earth? 40 days. Kaya ito yung mga tradisyon natin na 40 days.
Babang luksa.
Babang luksa. Diba? Ito nila nakuha yun. No? And then, Jesus ascended to heaven on the 40th day. So, iusog natin yung timeline natin para maganda. Okay? Dito na lang. Caught up to heaven. Di po ba? Yan. Nakita nyo na yung sinasabi sa Revelation chapter 12 and its correlation with the New Testament. Di po ba? Okay. And then, Jesus said, I must go so that what? Who will come? Who will come? The Holy Spirit will come. Kailan dumating ang Holy Spirit?
Pentecost.
The Pentecost. What do you mean by the word Pente? 50. From the time that Jesus, when? Died. Okay.
50 days.
So on the 50th day, the Holy Spirit came down at Pentecost. First to whom? Acts chapter 2. First to the Jewish believer. Di po ba? They began speaking in tongues. To the Jews first. Because salvation is of the Jew. Di ba? Sabi ni Jesus, go! Ang sabi niya sa 12 disciples, when Jesus was here on earth, you go to the 12 tribes of Israel. Diba? Wala pa anything about the Gentile. But Jesus said, Jesus Himself went to the different Gentile cities. Example ng Gentile city, Tyre, Sidon, ano pa? Decapolis, no? Yung mga, tama siya, yung mga nasasakupan ng mga Roman Empire. Macedonia, no? Punta ba si Jesus doon? Si Paul ata. No? So, and then, on Acts 10, ito lahat naaral natin in part 3, diba? In Acts 10, the Holy Spirit also went into the what?
Gentiles.
The Gentiles. And in Ephesians, no, chapter 2, Paul led us into the mystery. Mystery of what? Mystery of the church. First time, lumabas ang word church. No? Mystery of the church. And what is the mystery? That the Jew and the Gentiles are one in one body. The head of the body is Christ. No? And that's why Jesus, no, in one of the writings of Paul, anong sabi niya? Jesus is like the husband. So if Jesus is the husband or the bridegroom, sino ang bride?
The church.
The church is the bride. God is the father. And who is the wife of God? Who is the wife of God who gave birth to the son? Israel. Israel is called God's wife. That's why in the book of Hosea, diba? The prophet Hosea, he said, itong wife ko, nagkaroon ng karelasyon. My wife, Gomer, committed adultery. No? Kaya ang sabi doon sa prophecy ngayon, but God, no, si Hosea himself, anong ginawa ni Hosea? Kinuha niya ulit yung asawa niya kahit adulteration. You are mine. Huwag ka dyan. Huwag kang maging harlot. Balik ka sa akin. Ha? Bibilin kita ulit. Akin ka. Ganon. Ganon kamahal ni Lord. Ni God ang kanyang wife. Ang wife niya is Israel. The woman, Israel, gave birth to the son. And the son became the bridegroom. And the bride is church. Okay? So, yun yung mga symbolism. Okay? So, Jesus, the Pentecost, the Holy Spirit came at Pentecost. And now we are living in the what age? Church age. Until when?
Until the
Until the coming back?
fullness of the Gentiles.
Church age. Yes. Until, sister, the fullness of the Gentile has come in. So, ang question, kailan ang fullness of the Gentiles? So, mali itong araw ko. Diba?
The second coming.
So, ang tanong, where is Israel now in the picture of the New Testament? Anong sabi ni Paul in Romans chapter 11?
Partial hardening.
There is a partial hardening of the heart of Israel. And it will be lifted up when? The fullness of the Gentiles. So the fullness of the Gentiles is another term for the church age. So ang tanong natin, hanggang kailan itong fullness of the Gentiles?
Second coming.
Until the time that the Jews will, yes, the hardening of the heart of the Jews, titigil na. And they will begin to worship God. Tingin nyo, saan dito sa timeline yun nangyari?
Second coming.
Second coming pa?
Sa Sa wilderness. Second nation.
And why will they flee to the wilderness kung hindi sila nag-heed sa call ni Daniel chapter 9? So maybe, ito speculation na natin, up to here. Oh, namali na yung drawing ko. Sorry.
Sa midway.
We don't know. But we know that during this time, when Israel is fleeing to the mountain, we know in Revelation that, let's go back to Revelation. So far dito, okay tayo? We talk about Matthew, we talk about Hebrews, we talk about
Daniel.
we talk about Romans.
Wala pang Luke.
Diba? Luke. Luke daw muna. Pasok na natin si Luke. What happened in Luke chapter 19? Verse 19 and 21. Jesus on his way to Jerusalem. So, hindi pa siya na-crucify. Maybe around here, we put Luke. Chapter 19. His triumphant entry to Jerusalem. What happened?
Jesus wept
Where?
because of the destruction of Jerusalem.
After seeing the temple, so here there is a temple, no? Sabi niya, one day it will be destroyed. Kailan nangyari yon?
AD 80, 70.
Okay. So 80 to 80, 30, 33. Alam natin, nangyari na to. So maybe we'll put it around here. No? AD 70. Complete destruction of the temple by General Titus. Diba?
Yes.
A Roman general. This time is the start of what we call the
Diaspora.
diaspora, and it is also what we call diaspora, the time when the Jews are being trampled by the nations. So you call this the times
Of the Gentiles.
of the Gentiles. When will it end?
Till the second coming.
Until the second coming.
Ito, it will end in the second coming of the Lord. So, medyo iba ang times of the Gentiles and the fullness of the Gentiles. We studied that, di ba? Kailan? Lesson 8 or 9. Now, you understand?
Yes.
Okay ba, Sister Linda? More or less?
Yung fullness of the Gentiles, hindi natin alam. Pero yung times of the Gentiles,
Alam
alam
natin.
natin will be coming to the second coming.
Yes.
Will be
It
finished
will finish here.
in the second coming.
Kasi Jesus will reign na eh.
Pero yung fullness,
Yung
wala
fullness,
pa.
we don't know. We could just speculate. Kasi ang sabi, the fullness of the Gentiles, there is a partial hardening of the heart of the Jews until the fullness of the Gentiles have come in. Yun ang sabi sa Romans chapter 11. So, ang sabi natin, more or less, maybe dito yun. Kasi by this time, yung mga Jews, they will be awakened na. They are waiting for their
the Gentiles will end.
But the
The
second
times of the Gentiles will end here.
Second coming.
Ah,
The second coming.
Can anybody find a verse that speaks that the times of the Gentiles will end in the second coming of Christ? Luke chapter 21 verse what? 24. Can somebody read? Sister Faith.
And they will
Led away.
Yes, verse 24. And they
will be led
captivity. No, sorry.
and will be led captive into the nations. And
Pero
will be
example mo,
trampled
pwede yan,
under
under
the
the
Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled.
Hindi sinabi na
Fullness at saka yung times of the Gentiles. Parang sabay
will be fulfilled. So, the time Jerusalem will be trampled on from here, according to P. Artura, AD 70. But some authors says that the times of the Gentiles started when? Started here. Yes. Some people say that the times of the Gentiles started here. Naaapi na sila noon pa. Diba? Api-api hanggang dito. So some people say from this one, in 8 BC, 605 BC. That's the times of the Gentiles. According to P. Arthur in our lesson, specifically, she said at the time of AD 70, as said by Luke, chapter 21. Oo. Wala kasing Jerusalem na dito. Diba? Sinira na. And then there is diaspora. Okay? Okay po ba? And then we also read Ezekiel chapter 36 to 37. Saan natin ipapasok si Ezekiel? During the time of the Babylonian captivity, there were prophets prophesying. Who were the prophets prophesying during this time? Jeremiah and Ezekiel. Jeremiah 31, di ba we studied that?
Yes.
No? Anong sabi? While they were still in captivity, I will give them a new covenant. I will write it in their hearts. Unlike the covenant that I had once with their forefathers. What is that covenant?
The one, the
Ay, kulang ako na
Moses.
dito. Kulang ako dito. No? Yes, way here. There was a new old covenant
With Moses.
with Moses. Kasi biglang nagkaroon ng new covenant eh. Diba? So there is coming a new covenant. And then in the book of Ezekiel 36-37, anong sabi niya? I will give you a new heart and a new
Spirit.
spirit. My spirit will be in your heart. Na? And then, kailan mangyayari yun? Lord, ngayon na ba ma-fulfill yung sinasabi nila? We're going back na to Jerusalem. Ha? Pag hindi na harden yung heart nila. So, hindi pa ito nangyayari for the Israelite. Because now is the year 2014. Not all of them have come to know the Lord. Not all of them have received Jesus as their Messiah. Diba? So, ito, waiting. Prophecy in the making. But we know, in 1948, lagay natin dito yung 1948. This is the start of the fulfillment of Ezekiel chapter 37. Ano yung sabi? The valley of the dry bones. Anong sabi sa valley of the dry bones?
They will have flesh.
Yes, they are dead there in their graves, but now I will put on flesh on them, and they once more will become alive. Not only that, God already provided in Ezekiel chapter 36 that the mountains will produce. Hindi pa masisira, sister. Yung mountain, mabubuhay. Yung desert, magkakaroon na ng green fruits. Diba? In preparation maybe as they flee to the mountain. Because ang sabi sa Ezekiel, they will not taste famine anymore. Diba? Marami silang tanim. E tayo, yung agricultural land natin, ginawa ng subdivision. Wala na tayong tanim.
Saka bawal na mag-irrigate.
Bawal na mag-irrigate.
Pinutol na irrigation.
Kaya tayo, we must go back to farming. Yung mga pasok-pasok natin, magtanim na tayo ng okra, talong, yung langit daw, gamitin natin. Gumawa tayo ng mga bagging. Ang tawag nila doon, food always in the home. Alam niyo yun? Faith. Food always, F-A-I-T-H. Food always in the home. It's a ministry actually. It's a Christian ministry. They plant around your house. You will be able to sustain food on the table for a minimum of 120 square meter lot. Magkakaroon kayo ng pagkain everyday by using their method. Yan yung mga nakikita nyo nakasabit, yung mga pechay. Yes, pwede mong gamitin yun. Mga gandang ministry.
Galing sa Israel.
So, this new covenant that they were talking about is because the old covenant is now fulfilled in the new covenant. Who fulfilled the new covenant? Jesus Christ. How are they to keep the old covenant? Anong sinabi ni Lord sa kanila in Leviticus chapter 23? Yes. God told them to practice the feast. No? The feast of Israel, the one we studied last week, 2 weeks ago. Diba? And that is what we're going to see in the conference. You saw the 2 poster there sa office. That let us attend that so that we will understand Israel. Because when we know the history of Israel, we know the history of God. Huh? Israel is God's time clock. Kung anong nangyayari sa Israel, kailangan nakatutok tayo dun. Huh? They are awaiting for the peace of Israel, so they will be able to build the temple. From this time up to this time, wala pang temple. But we know that when the abomination of desolation appeared, there is a temple. So, wala tayong clue kailan, di ba? Pero ang alam natin, kung may temple na, malapit na mangyari ito. Okay? So, yun yung clues natin. Okay ba? Okay. So, now, we know na Ezekiel 36-37, starting here. And when is the fulfillment of Ezekiel and the one of Jeremiah? When they will have their heart, they will have a new heart, new spirit, and there is going to be a covenant of peace.
So, wala.
They will realize it here.
So,
Here.
wala pa. Kasi wala pang fulfillment.
Yes.
It's just a
So this is the fulfillment time of Ezekiel and Jeremiah. Because when they see those fleeing to the mountain, when they see Jesus coming the second time, they will believe. They will believe. And they will be His God's people. Yes. The people on earth, yung mga earth dweller, there will be the one who will be mourning kasi hindi sila naniwala. They believe the beast. They have received the mark of the beast. Tuloy natin na sa Revelation. Okay? Where will we put the seals, the trumpets, and the bowls? Sino? Paano natin ilalagay yan?
Before they can die.
Alam natin that when Jesus comes, pag ganun tayo ha, pag ganun tayo. O sige, anong event ang nangyayari before the second coming? Ha? Anong mga clues natin? Meron dito gathering of the nation. Do you remember? The six bowl? Tama. And this one, no, the second coming correspond to the seven bowl. Diba? During the sixth bowl, this is what we call the
Marriage of the Gods.
sixth bowl. Ano nangyari? Gathering
The multitude.
of the
Ang mga inapit ko dyan.
nations. Diba? They are preparing for war in Armageddon. And where is the war of Armageddon? The year. Diba? When Jesus will come together with His armies, and Jesus will fight them in the battle of Armageddon. So we know ito ang sixth bowl. Diba? And we know how many bowls are there? Seven bowls. And we know that the second half, these 3.5 years, is what we call in Revelation chapter 16, 15 ba? Verse 1. This is what we call, yes, the wrath of God is finished. Because the wrath of God is contained in the seven bowls. So I don't know kung sa kailan yan, but all of these things, 1 to 7 bowls. Diba? At the sounding of the seventh trumpet, ito yon, pivotal point. No? How come we know that this is at this time na magkakaroon ng sounding of the seventh trumpet? Paano natin alam? At the sounding of the seventh trumpet, what do we know will happen? At first, there was war in heaven. There was war in heaven in Revelation chapter 12, verse 7. Satan was cast down to the earth, and Satan is mad because he only has a short time. How long was the time given to him?
1,000.
Yes.
1,260.
1,260 days. Nako. And we know, ang sabi, when Satan was cast down here on earth, he empowered the beast. He empowered the beast. Who is the beast?
Satan.
This one.
Ay,
Huh? He declared himself to be God. Kaya niya nagawa yun. Tao to eh. Kaya niya nagawa yun. Meron na siyang power. Ang power niya nanggaling kay
Satan.
the dragon. The dragon empowered the beast. Diba? Who is the dragon?
Satan.
Satan. Who else?
Serpent of
Serpent
old.
of old. And
The devil.
the devil. Saan natin nalaman yun? Revelation chapter 12 verse 7, 11, 7.
Ay, 9 teacher.
9, verse 9. Okay, now we know his different names. So I want to ask you, in the time of Adam and Eve, kasi sabi ni Sister Linda, bumalik daw tayo sa Adam and Eve. So doon na tayo sa pintana. During the time of Adam and Eve, sino ang nagtukso kay Eva?
The serpent of old.
Was the serpent revealed his true nature? Sinabi ba sino yung serpent of old?
Who is called the devil and Satan?
In Genesis?
I know.
Yes, no? Sorry in Genesis, it was not mentioned. Time out muna.
Anak mo.
Hello?
Straight.